Hi besties, how you doing? So today I'm going to be teaching you how to sew a basic pencil skirt. To my returning subscribers, I love you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to like and share this video. And to the new members, I love you so much. My name is Mola and I'm a fashion designer. So please do not forget to subscribe as well, like and share this video. And do not forget to turn on your notification bell so you'll be the first person to get notified when I drop a new video. So the next thing to do now is to sew our darts. And remember when I said that for the front skirt, the dart for the front skirt is 5 inches long. And on this center, you mark ½ inch on both sides. You mark ½ inch on both sides. Then you fold this like so. You fold this to that place you marked, to the center line, and then you sew like this. Let me teach you. And then you sew on that line. And then you sew out. Do not top stitch. There's no need to top stitching. By the time you sew out, then there's no need to top stitch again. So as you can see, this is what I was telling you about. You can see now the line we created. You sew on the line and then you sew out. So this is our dart. You can see how flat this is looking. You can see how flat this is looking. You see. So that is how to sew your perfect dart. You can see how flat this is looking. So we'll do the same thing for this side as well. Okay, so now that we're done with the darts for the front piece, I sew the other darts off camera because I don't want this video to get too long. And the next thing to do now is to sew the back part of the skirt. That's the center of the skirt. I already pinned it. This is the center part of the skirt. So from the waist of the back part, this is where our zip is going to be. So this center line, the rest of the center line is what we are going to sew. So from the waist, you leave 8 inches depending on how big your client's butt is. If your client's butt is not big, it is small, you can leave like 7 inches or 6 inches. But if your client has hips and a big butt, you can leave like 8 to 9, even 10 inches, so the skirt can fit in very well. Then from the waistline, you measure 8 inches. 8 inches. This is our 8 inches here. Then from the 8 inches, you come down by 6 or 7 inches, depending on how long you want your slit to be. If you want your slit to be very long, from that 8 inches, you just come down by 6 inches. 6 inches. Then, but if you want your slit to be small, you don't want a very long slit at the end, you can just come down by 7 or 8 inches. Is your choice, however way you want it. So from this 8 inches, you go in by 1 inch. We are sewing this skirt by 1 inches, by 1 inch. Sorry, we are sewing this by 1 inch. So we are sewing from here, from this 8 inches to this 6 inches. This is what we are sewing. So you're sewing from here to here. That's all for the back. You top stitch, then you sew top stitch again. So that is all about the back from here to here. That is all. So this is going from here to here. So from here to here is now going to be our slit. Then from here to here is where our zip is going to be. So you can see that this is where our zip is going to be. Then this is our slit. You can see what I'm talking to you, what I'm telling you, what I've been explaining. This is it. This is where our slit is. This is where our slit is, and this is our zipper side. Then the next thing to do now is to shaping your skirt. So this is the front part of the back piece, and this is also the front part of the front piece. So right side matching right side. Make sure you pin this by 1 inch. Pin this by 1 inch so you know how to place your skirt. You place the front part of the skirt on it. So right side facing right side. As you can see that they are matching up. You can see that they are matching up now after we've pinned by 1 inch. So this is it. You cannot match your side. You pin your side down. So the waist we're working with is 26. 26 divided by 2, that's 13. 13 divided by 2 again, that's 6.5. You place your 6.5 on this line. You place your 6.5 here, then you mark. By the time you check this side, we have 2 inches here, and then we have 2 inches here. So 2 inches on both ends. So the next thing to do now is to move over to the hip. The hip you're working with is 38. 38 divided by 2, that is 19. So 19 divided by 2 again, that is 9.5. Then you place it on, this is our hip line. Then you place 9.5 in the center. You place 9.5 in the center. Then you mark 19. This is 19 here, and this is 19. Okay, so this is 19. So from here to here, from here to here is 19. So from here to here is 9.5. From here to here is 9.5. Altogether is 19. By the time you check what we have here, we have 2.7 here. Then we have 2.7 here, as you can see. So we have 2.7 here, we have 2 inches here. Then the next thing now is to move over to the hem of the skirt, the knee rather, not the hem, the knee round that we work with was our hip is 38. 38 minus 6 is 32. Okay, so the knee round we work with is 32. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. So 16 divided by 2 again, that's 8. So you place 8 in the center line. Then you mark 16. Oh, okay, this is okay. From here to here we have 3.6. From here to here we have 3.6, as you can see. So this is 3.6 we're taking here. This is 2 inches, this is 2.5, and this is 3.6. So remember, we are making a pencil skirt. So the 8 inches that we marked there, you can now mark the same thing here. 8 inches. So by the time you check, you have 3.6. So this is 3.1. Mark it there. By the end we have 3.1. So the 8 inches you marked here, you mark it here. So by the end of the day, you have 3.1 here, you have 3.6 here, you have 2.5 here, you have 2 inches here. So that is how to shape your skirt. Then you can now roll, you can now mark, connect your dots together. This is how to, so just to make sure this is not too sharp, you just come out a little bit to blend this up, then you go and connect to the, now that we are shaping the skirt, we know where to sew. You can now go over to the sewing machine to sew both the front piece and the back piece together. Sewing on the line, do not sew. If you sew before the line, that means you are reducing your measurement, and if you sew after the line, you are increasing your measurement. So try as much as possible to sew in between the line that you have marked. You top stitch, then you sew. Then you top stitch. You can now remove your pins. So this is the skirt, this is our slits, as you can see, and this is our zipper side of the skirt. So the next thing to do now is to hem the down part of the skirt. So before you do that, after fitting the skirt and you see that okay, everything is working perfect, everything is okay, you can now trim this off. You can now trim this off. But if you want to leave allowance, just in case you add weight or your client adds weight, they can easily loosen it. So just keep enough allowance, but not too much. This is too much. You can just keep like 1 inch allowance. You cut from 1 inch. This is what I've been saying. So if you want to leave allowance, just mark like 1 inch. Mark like 1 inch. 1 inch allowance is fine. Then you can now cut from the 1 inch. So you see this allowance is enough. So okay. The next thing to do is to hem our skirt. Before you do that, make sure you measure what you have. The length of the skirt we are working, this length is the length of this skirt is, this is 26. and the length we're working with is 24. So you just have to fold. That means we have like 2 inches. We'll fold in by 2 inches because the length we're working with is 24 and we have 26. Okay, so we are going to hem this by 2 inches because the length we're working with is 24 and we have 26, so we are folding by 2 inches. So this is 1 inch and this is 1 inch, making 2 inches. Make sure you double check to be sure you are sewing the right thing. And like I said, when you're hemming your top, your blouse, your skirt, whatever cloth you're hemming or you're sewing, by the time it's time for you to hem, do not pull, do not drag. So when you're done hemming, you have a smooth and neat finishing. But if you drag, your work won't be smooth, it will be rough. As you can see that this is looking very smooth and neat because I did not drag. Make sure you relax your hand when you're hemming and always check to be sure you're sewing by 1 inch, because sometimes you think you're sewing by 1 inch, meanwhile you're sewing by 1.1 or 1.2. When you get to the end of the skirt, the top stitch, so that is that. As you can see how good this is looking. You can see that we have a neat finishing. Our hemming is not rough because we did not drag. You can see. So you put this into practice to make sure that you have a neat finishing, as you can see. Then for the slit side, so the next thing to do is to close up our slits. You go over to your pressing board, then let me do this one so you can see it. When you go over to your pressing board, you iron this flat like so. You iron this. Make sure by the time you're closing this like this by 1 inch. Make sure it's 1 inch, because you remember that we sew here by 1 inch. So when you're closing, make sure that it is aligning the same 1 inch. You can see this is 1 inch, this is 1 inch. So you iron this flat. You can now take your hemming gum. This is hemming gum. When you go to the market, you tell them you want to buy hemming gum. This is hemming gum. So you cut your hemming gum, then you place on this like so. You place it on it like this. You close this up, and then you iron. So this hemming gum is going to hold the fabric together. It's going to glue it. It's going to gum it together. Even if you wash your fabric, it's not going to come off. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to iron this off camera, then I'll show you the result. So you see, I am done ironing the hemming gum on the skirt. So this is the result. You can see what I was telling you about. This is the result. As you can see that the hemming gum has glued the fabric together. So even if you wash this, it's not going to come off, and this is looking stiff and neat. you can see. So this is how to close up your slit. Another way to close up your slit is if you're using a lining. You can use your lining to close this up. By the time you turn it to the right side, this is what we have. As you can see, our slit is looking perfect. So that's about the skirt. You can see that the skirt is not very hard. It's not even hard at all to sew. The skirt is the easiest thing to sew. So the next and the last thing now is to attach your zip. And before then, we are going to be attaching our band to the skirt. So this is the band for the skirt. This is the band for the skirt. And before you sew your band, before you attach your band to the skirt, make sure you iron your interfacing on it. That's your hairstay. Iron your hairstay on it to give it a little bit more, to make it more stiff. Then you can now attach it to your skirt. This is 4 inches. 4 inches. By the time you fold, you have 2 inches, and by the time you sew by ½ inch, we have 1.5 inches band. So this band we are working with now for this skirt is a 1.5 inches band. If you want to cut a 2 inches band, that means you cut 5 inches. Then by the time you fold, you have 2.5, and by the time you sew by ½ inch, you have 2 inches. So this is a 1.5 inches band. Okay, I have ironed my band. As you can see, I've ironed my band. Then the next thing now to do is to get the midpoint of this band, the center. We are trying to mark the center. You divide it, you fold it into 2, like so. Make sure that the edges are meeting. Then the center line is what we have here that you notch. So this is the center line for this band here. That center line, this center line you've marked, you're going to open this up. You open this up, then you match the center line with this center. This, you can see that there's a center line for the front skirt, for the front part of the skirt. So you're going to match this center line with this center line of the skirt. Then you pin. So you pin your skirt all around before you start sewing, so they don't move together, they don't move around. Okay, now that I'm done pinning one side of the skirt, you can see that we have excess. So this is why I said whenever you're cutting a band for a pant or a trouser or a pant or a skirt, always leave excess, like 2-3 inches excess. So by the time you're done pinning, you have something to cut out, because if you cut the exact waist measurements, by the time you're done pinning, there's a chance that the band is going to be shorter than the skirt. You sew by ½ inch all round. You top stitch. Okay, so this is it. As you can see, this is our band. So the next thing now to do is to fix our zip on it. You are not going to close this up yet. You're going to fix your zip first. After fixing your zip, then you can now close everything up, because we are fixing our zip up to this place, up to the band here. So you can cut off this excess that you have here. You don't need this anymore. Okay.
Okay, besties. I decided to fix my zip off camera because the video was getting too long. So as you can see, I fixed my zip. So the next thing to do now is to
Fold by half an inch. So by the time you open, you see that you have a neat finishing. So on 6. Okay, so as you can see, this is what I was telling you about. You can see that you have to sew very close to the band, sorry, the line here, so you have a good and neat finishing here. So by the time you close this up, this is what you have. So this is it about the skirt. Then you can now go over to your pressing board to iron this up. So before then you can close this up like so. This place, you can't just leave this place like this. You can't just leave it like this. So you will have to close this up like this, and tack together. So this is all about how to sew your basic pencil skirt. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions.
Alright, besties, that is that about how to sew your basic pencil skirt.